My name is Alessandro SORIANI. I come from Bologna, University of Education, Science of Education, and I'm doing a joint doctorate PhD with the Department of Communication Arts and Communication of Sorbonne Nouvelle in Paris. The title of my research is the topic also of this presentation, and it's the influence of digital environments mediated relationship. So all that relationship that are somehow vehiculated by digital environments. Okay, their influence on social climate in educational settings. Okay, it's a little bit long, the title, but it explains what the topic is. So I will start with the problematic. The pre-adolescents from 11 to 15, more or less, start to experience more and more autonomy in terms of relationship between each other. It's a moment where they are developing their identity and their lives, and they're passing through, they're facing the adolescence. And that means they are starting experimenting more autonomy. They are starting to go away from their parents and looking for the peers' improvement. And they start also experiment autonomy in terms of the use of technology. In this setting, the importance of school is crucial. My research focuses on secondary schools, so I don't know what the name is in Hungary, but in France is collège, and in Italy is secondary school. But more or less is 11 to 15 years old. So the schools are important because usually they are a place where the students are literally plunged into a relationship. They are constantly in contact with their peers, and it's important because they see adults that are not necessarily their parents. They are in contact with teachers, with other educators. And it's a place where they are starting the use of technology for leisure, of course, but also for learning. So it's one of the first moments where they are facing another use of technology. So it's quite an interesting environment to look for. These are the research questions. So I asked myself, does a relationship between the digital environments mediated relationship and the social climate of learning environment exist? So, because I looked at the bibliography, and it seems like all the researches about ICTs in education focus on the cognitive aspect of it, leaving behind all that is relationship, all that is the relationship level. And how much do the students depend on digital environments mediated relationship to satisfy their social relational needs? So these are quite a wide question. It's necessary to make a categorization. I will talk about these two kinds of digital spaces. So the official digital spaces, which are the digital spaces provided officially by the schools. So like Moodle platform, virtual classrooms, electronic logbook, etc. And the non-official digital spaces. So those are all the digital spaces used spontaneously by the students, like chat groups, instant messaging services, social networks, and so on. Video gaming platform also. The research is a work in progress. I still have to finish. I need to deliver the first draft in December, so tomorrow, basically. And I will talk about mainly the data coming from the observation and the student survey. But I will present briefly what the data come from, where the data come from. So as you can see, the population of my research is set in 2 countries, particularly in Bologna and in Paris. So I approached 4 schools, and my population is composed by 16 classes, 8 in Italy and 8 in France. All the schools are public, are not considered privileged schools, so are, you can say, a mix in between low privileged and well and healthy families. So I try to keep a balance between the 2 audiences. And of course, the presence of ICT was a requirement for this research. The data collection method, so I ran 16 days of observation, 1 per each class, 365 questionnaires to the students, 19 questionnaires to teachers, group interview with a group of 10 volunteers, one group for each class, 20 individual interviews with the teachers and the school principal. Okay, I will start from what is interesting, especially from the observation. So, yes, the observation was just 1 day, and it was basically to get in contact with the students in order to have more meaningful interviews. But some interesting aspects came up. For instance, in 12 classes out of 16, I've seen students checked on their phones without being noticed, and I was sitting in the middle of the class with them. So in just 1 day, I see that 75% of the classes had students checking their phone without being noticed. Of course, students had their mobiles in their pockets. I've seen it in 11 classes out of 16. And another interesting data is that in 13 classes out of 16, I heard students talk about stuff and episodes happening in the digital worlds. Maybe the afternoon before, or some kind of video game they're doing online, or a discussion they had, or something like that. This was very interesting. And also, in 7 classes out of 16, I saw that they are using mobiles during the breaks. Okay. From the student surveys, some other interesting aspect came out. So I won't go through all the questions of the surveys, but I will focus only on the most important. So I asked if they had internet on their mobile phone without the Wi-Fi, and yes, the majority of them said yes. So 244 out of 352, so it's quite a number. And do your parents check your mobile phone and your ICT devices to control what you're doing on the web? And most of them said no. So it's quite also an interesting, but I guess it's in line with all the research that we heard during these days. So another question: do you bring your mobile phone, your phone? Yes, at school. So 276 replied yes, and that's over the 75% of the population. So again, quite a number. Do you use your mobile phone during school? And most of them said yes, by hiding it. So they were really sincere, because they were told that the questionnaire was completely anonymous, so they felt free to answer. And the main uses are to chat between each other and to play during during the dead time. And also other uses like listening to the music, watching the videos, and yeah, check on YouTube, stuff like that. So again, I asked them their use of official digital spaces. So mainly they use official digital spaces to do homework, share documents, and work on tasks in groups. But it's interesting because they don't use the official digital spaces to discuss between each other, or they use it very low, or to make jokes. So these are kind of official digital spaces, and they are kind of forced of using them to work. That's why they don't use them to discuss. We never use them, or just to check the votes, they're saying. Again, I asked if some conflicts that are that have started from official digital spaces started from these digital spaces, and they said no. Most of them replied no. Some of them reported some inconvenient situation, like the spread of personal photos uploaded on shared digital folders by mistake. So, and also some arguments between subgroups and individuals, stolen password, but that's a very few number of episodes. Okay, official digital spaces, these are the most used: Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, no news in this. And okay, let me go through because I'm running out of time. Okay, so I've asked them if they are using chat groups within the class. So most of them have 1 to 5 chat groups. Usually is the chat group of the male group, the chat group of the female group, but there are also examples that are more than 20 to 30 chat groups, because they are constantly creating new groups for the sorting out or hanging out that afternoon or not. So how many chat groups do you have in your class? It's 2, as I said. The male and the female are the most 2 popular, but also you can see that within the class you can have also more than 6, but usually it's in between 2 and 3. And they use this to talk and make arrangement about meetings, to send pictures, to make jokes, ask for help, and other. Here you can see that the percentage of the number of students that they are using these spaces are mainly for asking help for the homeworks, but also to send pictures and really using the group to make arrangement and see face to face during the afternoon. These are the percentage when I asked them if they feel somehow cut out from these spaces. So they said yes, in only 14%. But it's quite an interesting data, because some of them feel cut out because they are simply not included in one of these subgroups, and this has an influence on the classroom climate, because they feel sad and they feel upset that they are not included. And then one of the final slide is, do some in-class unlikely situations have started from these non-official spaces? And you can see that here the number is much more higher than the one before. And mainly is because they are arguing between each other because of misunderstanding, but also the love affair factor came out strongly, especially in the higher level of the classes. Okay, I'm concluding. Proposing this kind of model. So the class is composed by, yes, physical spaces, but also digital spaces. And the relationships are in between relationship in class, relationship outside class, and relationship in digital spaces. And all these elements are intertwined between each other, and one affects the other. So this is the model that I want to propose. Okay, let me go through the final slide. The school, what they need to do. Usually the school face this new situation with old rituals, using the words of Philippe Mériot, which is a French pedagogist, very interesting, with a strong voice about this topic. And in order to get the most and the best out of it, school need to take into account this relationship and these digital exchanges as a factor in the classroom climate, because, as I said, often the trend is to cut out and not consider because it's forbidden, and we don't want to mix the professional life with the personal life, or I am here only to teach history or math, and I don't want to talk about this problem, but this problem affects the classroom climate. So I'm a little bit run out of time, but I'm sorry.